A few months ago, we were recording the PetaPixel podcast, and Becca Farsacci was on the show walking us through her giant collection of classic Kodak point-and-shoot cameras, and it triggered a memory for me. Because a long time ago, there was a Kodak point-and-shoot that debuted a feature which is now ubiquitous on some of the most popular cameras in the world. Well, I was able to get my hands on that point-and-shoot, and I want to talk about it. I'm Jordan Drake, this is PetaPixel, and Kodak had some pretty interesting ideas back in the day. Let me take you back about a decade ago, when it was becoming obvious that photo quality was one of the most important things for people buying a new smartphone. The problem is image quality had just hit a wall, and no one was willing to have a wider phone, but everybody was asking for better image quality and a bigger zoom range. Right around this time, all of the smartphone manufacturers adopted the same solution. But before we get to that, let's go back another decade earlier when compact digital point-and-shoots were all the rage. I'm talking things like Canon's ELPH series, Sony's W series, but it was a very similar situation to what the smartphone manufacturers would soon be facing. Everybody wants a very compact camera. How are we going to get a wider zoom range in these? So Kodak introduced their solution to this problem in 2006 with the V570. What's fascinating about this camera is it had two complete lens and sensor assemblies built right into it. So you had a fixed 23mm equivalent ultra-wide angle lens, and then a second assembly with a 39 to 117mm equivalent zoom lens on it. Each of these lenses were placed in front of a separate 5-megapixel teeny tiny little sensor. Now, does that sound familiar? Because this is exactly what smartphones have been doing since around like 2016 when Apple brought out the iPhone 7 Plus. If Kodak was so ahead of their time all the way back in 2006, what would it feel like to actually shoot with one of those cameras now? Now, I wasn't able to find a V570 that was actually functional, but looking on eBay, I was able to find the updated model released just a little bit later that same year. This is the V705, which has 7 megapixels and could be found for only $62.41. So in order to actually take pictures, the first things I had to sort out was battery and storage. Now, this camera did come with a USB-A to a proprietary little plug adapter I could use to charge the camera up. The problem was it would only charge up to the we're about to die mode where I could take like 4 or 5 pictures. So a portable USB charger did become my best friend. Take a few pictures, charge it up, and repeat that cycle. The other problem was storage. This has support for MMC or SD cards, and my house is just littered with SD cards. The problem is it won't take anything 2 gigabytes or larger, which is everything that I have. But I did find a forgotten drawer, and inside was a 1 gigabyte Camera Store SD card, which did the trick. All right, so now we can take pictures, and what's really interesting about this is the zoom interface. So looking at the side of the frame, whenever you touch the zoom rocker on it, you can see that it's a long line with white and yellow sections on it. And the white sections are what's actually covered by the optical lenses. We can see there's one right at the bottom for that 23mm equivalent, and then we've got the white section with our other zoom lens a little further up. The yellow section is digital zoom, and the thing to remember is these are 7 megapixel sensors from almost 20 years ago, and very small sensors for that matter. And as soon as we start working within this digital zoom range, the quality is frankly trash. That said, you're going to run into this exact same problem even today when you're digitally zooming with your smartphone, especially with a lot of modern models like the iPhone 16 Pro, where you've got this huge gap between your 24mm equivalent 1x lens and your 120mm 5x lens. As soon as you start zooming through there, the quality drops dramatically. So we've made some progress over the last 20 years, but not that much. The ultra-wide 23mm equivalent camera on the Kodak was actually a really big deal back in 2006, because even a lot of the smaller cameras that were known for a good wide angle would start at just 28 millimeters. And I remember I was working at Black's Photography back when this camera came out. It's a long defunct photo retailer. And the vast majority of the customers who were coming and looking at this Kodak camera were actually realtors who were looking for a very affordable way to get an ultra-wide perspective. So let's talk about the ultra-wide. I'm looking at the images on this. The centers are okay, but the corners are definitely quite soft and quite smeary. And the thing that really surprised me is generally when we're using our smartphones, the ultra-wide lens is the best one when you want to do close-up or macro photography, but the close-up performance on the Kodak is actually pretty poor. You actually want to switch over to your zoom lens to get the best close-up potential. This camera does have one other thing going for it, which all the kids are going to be crazy about, and that's that it has a built-in actual flash. Now, yes, I know that the look of on-camera flash is something photographers have been trying to avoid for decades, but it is still worlds better than that dinky, awful little LED flash that you get on your smartphone. And let's take a look at two Instagram posts here. One which was shot with a smartphone using all of its fancy computational tricks, and the other one just shot with the built-in on-camera flash on this almost 20-year-old camera. Look at them side by side. You can tell what produces the better looking image. And look at this other flash picture I took. Okay, no, that picture was not taken with on-camera flash. That photo of my lovely wife, Evelyn here. I actually pulled out the Westcott L60B constant light. And the reason I took this out is, even if I'm using like an old-timey point-and-shoot camera from almost 20 years ago, if you're using constant light, it's still gonna work. You don't have to worry about any kind of flash sync, anything like that. And I really like with these lights, I can not only adjust the output of them, but also the color temperature, swing it from all the way from indoor tungsten light to outdoor cloudy light. And this kit includes the light fixture as well as the modifier. I've got this rapid box switch here, which really diffuses the light and gives me a nice flattering look. So if you want to improve your photography, even if for some reason you're using ancient 7 megapixel point and shoot cameras, you can do it with the Westcott L60B lighting kit. Just look at the link in the description below to order it. And thank you so much to Westcott, our preferred lighting partner. Look, I'm not gonna actually review this camera. I mean, the model that I have right now is barely functioning, and it's not like there's a really unique character to these images that you can't get anywhere else. But I do think it's really cool that Kodak brought out this basically forgotten technology a long time ago, and now we're finding it in all the most popular cameras in the world, our smartphones. The fascinating thing about Kodak is its relatively recent history is full of really interesting innovations like this. And first digital camera, that was Kodak in the 70s. First digital SLR, that was Kodak again. And here they were coming up with a multiple camera solution years before the first iPhone was even released to the public. The good news is this is the only example I could ever think of where brilliant engineering was undone by bad marketing decisions. Wait, no, I'd like to do that last part again. Thanks for watching this episode, and as I said at the start of it, the whole idea for this came from a conversation that happened on the PetaPixel podcast. So you should definitely check it out. You can listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. Just search for PetaPixel Podcast or watch it right here on YouTube. As well, if you want to support the show, you can do that with a PetaPixel membership. Not only can you look at all of PetaPixel.com ads free, but it's going to give you some nice bonuses on our merch store. And now you can download full-size RAW and JPEG images of full production cameras. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon with more PetaPixel.